Morning everyone. Made her through another crazy week at work. Hopefully that stuff's going to be done by midsummer next year, hoping for retirement here. So back in the shop again, still working on headers and getting a few other things done. I got to clean this pigsty up. There's not even room to swing a little cat around in here. So I'll just show you what we're doing. We got the mess everywhere. The 440 is sold. It's going to a new home. Hopefully later this week. I've got all the spare parts and everything all sorted out for it. Like I showed on the last video, the driver's side header is complete. I'm just starting on the passenger side. What I've got, I started shaping the tubes, the 2-inch tubes to tie everything together. I've got to shorten this pipe down a little bit, get the flanges tack welded on, the stub welded into the collector, and the flange on there, and then I can go to work on shaping the tubes. This is the 2-inch elbows that I'm using. They're a Walker part number 41001. They're a press bend, like I mentioned before, not a mandrel bent, so it helps me with the shaping. And once I get everything cleaned up here a bit and start shaping these tubes, I'll show you the process I'm using to make them into a D shape to fit the flange, and then how I shrink the lower end here for the 1 3/4 to butt up to it. Nice same diameter. So we'll be back here shortly. Okay guys, we're back. I've got the down pipe that goes to the exhaust. It's all trimmed. I have the lower flanges welded on. And what I do is the pipe is recessed about half the thickness of the flange, and then I run the weld around the inside. It gives you a nice stepped area for the weld. Run it on the belt sander to true the flange up afterwards. I've got the flange is tack welded in one spot to the stub that's welded to my collector. As you can see, it's a little bit recessed in there, so what I'm going to do now is run a bead all the way around the inside, and then it can be dressed up on the belt sander. Now I'd run it around on the belt sander if I could, but I let the smoke out of the motor on my belt sander this morning, so it's no longer viable. So I'm going to have to be pretty careful here with my weld. The nice thing about this is you can put a lot of heat into it because of the 1/4-inch flange here. So I'll bring you back once I have that welded. Just going to show you how I do the shape on the ends of the piece of 2-inch tube where they fit into the header flange. Well, I've just got a piece of sucker rod from an oil well. I've got the end of it in a curve, and what I have to do is flatten off the bottom of this. So take these 2 corners down, and then the other thing I have to be careful of is these tubes, when they come out of the header flange, the curve, instead of being directly at a 90-degree coming up, they actually tip back slightly, so they tip back as well as up. So I have to watch how I go about doing that. Well, I'll just put you in the tripod here and show you how this comes about. Put you in here, see if I can get you close enough. And I got you on the end there, so let me grab my hammer. So when I flatten this, I want this corner to come down and this corner to go up. So what I'm going to do is put the edge of the pipe on the bar. If I can keep it tight in the vise so it quits falling down on me. So as you can see, it starts to take shape pretty quick. Okay, as you can see, it's flattened off across the bottom. I've got a slight tip back in the tube. All I do now is I keep going until this gives me a really nice close fit. The top's got to come down a little flatter. Probably pretty loud for you guys. Takes a little patience. Right there we have almost perfect setup to go into that header tube. So that's the process I use. I'll just fine tune this a bit. Then the other end, I'm going to cut it off about here. And then I peen it down so that it's 1 3/4 OD, the same as my tubing. I'll show you how I do that. Okay, so what I have is a ball peen hammer. It's probably about 1 3/8 inches, 1.5 inches in diameter. I have another one that fits really snugly inside the 1 3/4 tubing. I'll use this one to finish it up afterwards, but I start on here. And what I do is, find my hammer again. Okay, so you take and put it at an angle on the edge so that the head of the hammer is about 1/2 inch in. Move you a little bit, and I start. What we're doing is shrinking it as you pound it down into itself. Tough to keep the hammer tight in there. So I keep that downward force on it a little bit further in. As you can see, it's reduced in size incredibly. Well, right now, we are exactly the same size as 1 3/4. So when I butt my other elbow up to it, I have a nice flat area that's the same size, so it makes it very easy to dress up when you're sanding it. So that's the process for that. It's pretty simple, just a little time consuming. Hope it helps you guys in the future. Okay guys, so we're back. It's Sunday morning here. I've got a little bit more progress. Blowing up my belt sander really screwed me up. I use it a ton when you're making these little pieces. You can adjust the angle on your cuts real easy on the edge of the belt sander, whereas using an angle grinder you tend to you can get a little bit wavy in the cuts and stuff. So I've got the first tube is on. If you look in the center here, what I've done, same as I did on the back flange, you can see that the tube is recessed a little bit, which gives me a nice spot to run the weld around on the inside. You can see the tube isn't exactly the right shape. I've only tacked it in 2 spots on top and bottom. Once I have all the tubes done, I will go in here with a smooth edge bar and take those out right to the edge of the flange so it's exactly the same shape. So here's the bottom end. Again, it's the same thing. I've run the weld around the inside with the tube being recessed a little over halfway in the flange. Gives you a nice strong area, and it doesn't dirty up the outside of the pipe here where your weld goes, get in the way of your bolts and stuff. So I've got the tube all welded, the 2 pieces, the 2-inch into the 1 3/4 inch, and then this is where I had to shrink down the collector, the Pentastar collector, to 1 3/4 inch. So I'm going to bolt this back on now, and I guess that's going to be about it till I get a new belt sander, which I ordered from Home Depot. Should be here hopefully later this week, if not the beginning of next week. So guys, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and we'll try and keep the content coming here. So